I'm just going to stick you in front of the camera, Rishi, and we'll have a little chat. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you, a multi-talented presenter. We've had lots of racing presenters on, but this chap, he knows more about other sports than any other person. Rishi, so welcome to our show, sir. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How did it all kick off for you? What got you into presenting?
Just chance, Gary. I was very lucky that I was working for a company that I worked. It was a father-son company that I worked for, a PR company that specified in horse racing. And I've been there for ages, and basically I bored them with my racing trivia and knowledge and my enthusiasm for gambling and what was happening in the racing world. And eventually, do you remember when At the Races started way back in 2002?
Yeah.
They, without me knowing, my boss at that company had written a letter to At the Races saying, if you're looking for new people, new faces, then I suggest you have a look at this guy. He knows something about racing. So I went to a screen test in London, in Charlotte Street, in early March, the first week of March 2002. It was a week before Cheltenham, and after the screen test, which was done on the Friday, on the Monday I got a phone call saying, would I like to join At the Races as a presenter. But it wasn't me. It wasn't like an ambition that I had. I just enjoyed being involved in the sport because I love racing, I love sport, and that was what I was doing. So the television stuff happened entirely by chance.
Brilliant, and you cover a lot of sports. You've had a really, really busy year in the last 6 months. You was down Sandwich, which is local to me, for the Open. You've done Wimbledon, the tennis, and you went to Tokyo. What was that like?
Yeah, Tokyo was amazing. I'd heard lots of good things about it from a lot of my friends who'd travelled there before, but I obviously had never been. And it was a shame because the city looks amazing, the people were lovely, but we weren't able to see it in all its glory because it was still in a state of emergency. You know, it was basically lockdown from 8 o'clock, so you weren't allowed to be out. And unfortunately, the first 2 weeks of our stay in Tokyo was a soft quarantine where you could only go to the venue or the broadcast centre or your hotel. You weren't allowed to really go anywhere else. And by the time we got to the third week, we were all so knackered. And I managed to go to a couple of gyoza restaurants, which is quite nice and traditional, and it was outstanding. But other than that, didn't really get out too much to sample what the real Tokyo is like. But I suspect, had it been a full-blown Olympics with crowds and accessibility to every entertainment venue, then I think it would have been absolutely amazing. Apart from that, the actual events themselves, they were outstanding. And I was privileged enough to see quite a few gold medals up close and personal, and that was something special indeed, especially in the equestrian world, which of course is close to my heart.
Yeah, brilliant. We had one of your friends on about 10 months ago. Tina Cook came on our show because I'm associated with his father Josh back in the days, and she gave us her experience of 2 medals she won Beijing, I do believe. And so as a presenter, then you get to interview many people. Have you got any favourites?
At the moment, Rory McIlroy would be one of my favourites.
Oh, wow.
Mostly because I love my golf, I play golf, and I think he's one of the best golfers in the world, even though 1 or 2 people perhaps criticise his lack of winning big events for some time. But he's just so nice, down to earth, and really, makes my job very easy because he's so honest, doesn't mind being asked any question, is truthful about when things go wrong. I remember he had a bad day at the Open about 5 or 6 years ago where he snapped his 3-wood on one hole, and I didn't even know that it had happened because we don't actually see the coverage, so you kind of get fed bits and pieces. And whilst I was interviewing him, I was told in my ear, oh, by the way, ask him what happened on, I think it was the 15th when he snapped his 3-wood. So I just sort of threw the question open out, and I said, something happened on the 15th? Rory, which he could have perceived as being like, you idiot, did you not watch it? But he was like, yeah, I snapped my three-wood and it was all my fault. I take the blame. I shouldn't have behaved like that. It's a bad example. I lost my cool. I won't do it again. It's not an example for other people to follow, but, you know, we all have moments of loss of control. So he'd be one of my favourite. Federer. I'm very lucky to be able to mention these people. But don't get me wrong. And someone like Roger Federer is a dream because he's so engaging. And even when I asked the question, you know, I don't know if you saw the interview I did with him at Wimbledon this year when it was my first interview with him and his first match back. And the last question I asked him, I said, oh, and finally, Roger, is it true what they say that absence makes the heart grow fonder? And he looked at me and he said, I heard the word absence, but I didn't really get it, so I don't know what you meant. So I said it again in that usual slow, louder way, and I went, is it true what they say that absence makes the heart grow fonder? And he looked at me and there's a pause and he just went, I don't understand what that means. At which point my heart sunk. The crowd, some of them sort of laughed nervously. And then so I said, okay, well, what I'm trying to say is, having not been at Wimbledon last year, you know, how special is it and how good does it feel to be back? So he pointed at me and he went, there you go, like that. So,
brilliant.
And then at the end of the interview, when I said, well, thank you very much, good luck in the next round. In the meantime, I'll go off and practice my questions. He said, please do, which everybody laughed. And later in the tournament, when I interviewed him again, and I asked him about how his progress had gone so far in the tournament, he said, well, my English is certainly getting better since you interviewed me in the first round. So.
Oh, fantastic. We get back onto the racing game. It's at St Ledger tomorrow at Doncaster. Will you be there?
Yes. There it is. Doesn't look too lovely at the moment.
Oh, wow, you're actually there. Oh, fantastic. Well, there we go. There's Doncaster, the St Ledger tomorrow. Obviously working for ITV.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, we'll say hi.
Not only the Ledger, we're bringing the Irish Champion Stakes as well live on ITV tomorrow, so it's going to be a great day of racing.
Yeah, say hi to them all and tell them they've got to start lining up and come on our show, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
So who's going to win the St Ledger then? Is it a foregone conclusion for you?
I think so. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, though, Gary, if I'm honest. I think Hurricane Lane is the best horse in the race. Yes, he's proved that in the 2 runs after the Derby, but we do have to bear in mind the fact that he did finish behind Mojo Star in the Derby. And William Buick actually said that Hurricane Lane perhaps didn't really handle the Derby, whether it's the track, and he was still a bit inexperienced. So was Mojo Star, arguably. But there's no doubt he's improved since the Derby. But you know, strictly on that run where they were stretched out behind Adayar, Mojo Star was three and a bit lengths in front of Hurricane Lane that day.
Yeah.
So there is that. And Mojo Star was very unlucky, quite unlucky, in the Irish Derby. Well, okay, he wouldn't have beaten Hurricane Lane that day, but he would have been closer to him. And you know, he has come out and won again. So I'm not entirely certain that the discrepancy in price should be what it is. I do think Hurricane Lane will win. I think there's stamina in his pedigree as well. But I had this chat with a couple of people today, and it's possible he might be getting quicker. The turn of foot he showed to pick up Lone Eagle, and the way he sprinted away from his rivals in France next time out, he looks as if he's getting quicker. So there's that little nagging doubt. Not a race for him, I think, to have a major player, but I think he is obviously the class act, and I think he'll win. Brilliant.
And any more sticking out that you could give our viewers to look out for at Doncaster?
Not so much at Doncaster. Obviously, look out for Reach for the Moon. I think, tomorrow's really, as far as I can see, it's a great day to see horses for the future.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Irish Champion Stakes with St Mark's Basilica, Poetic Flair and Tanawa. What a great race. That is a prospect. I know it's a small field, but it's fascinating to see how the jockeys are going to play it.
Yeah.
Will the lack of pace potentially be the undoing for one or two? And maybe Poetic Flair might take advantage. Who knows? Who knows how it's going to play out? It's going to it's going to be an exciting race, even though it's a small field, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Well, you've been invited downstairs for dinner, I understand. If you see Richard Hoyles, let him know it's his turn next week, and
I will do.
And let him know that I'm quite a nice guy. I don't want to frighten him off. Rich, Rishi, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, you joining us. Thank you so much for your time, pal, and we look forward to seeing you on our ITV tomorrow. And take care, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Gary. Take care.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.